The Johnsky is a YouTube channel run by and run for people over the age of 13. People under the age of 13 should click off of this video right now, or watch with a parent or guardian. Viewer discretion is advised.
You don't scare me!
Mills is freaking 10 Englishman. My name is King Prime, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at another Star Wars Vintage Collection action figure, or rather a deluxe set of action figures, although it's really a figure and a creature, but I digress. That being the Star Wars Vintage Collection Sabine Wren and Howler. But before we take a look at those, let's take a look at what it comes in.
Box!
So overall, there's nothing really too special about this. I do think it's really funny that Sabine and the Howler look like a badly rendered in source model with no shadow and no lighting at all. It's really funny to me. Card, Ahsoka logos, Sabine looking off of the Howler, Sabine or farming in front of the Howler. Ow. On the side, there's a big photo of the Howler doing a bad boy pose, and then Howler begging for food, and then Sabine doming someone, and then on the back photo, there's a photo of the card, legal jargon, and product images, fuck off. But then come back real quick because we need to talk about the figure card. I like the photo they chose for Sabine. I like the color. It's very Sabine-ish, I guess. Well, it's more Ezra-ish, but that's a whole other issue. Counter logo on the back. Of course, there's the bio and the number, and then legal jargon, and then fuck off again.
Thank you, me from the past. Now we are back to the present here with the figures. But before we take a look at them, let's take a look at what they come with. The only thing that the Howler comes with is the two sitting haunched legs. They are not washed or dry brushed in any capacity. They're just simple brown plastic, same as the fur, but it's very nice sculpted. The paws, like the toe beans, I guess people would call these, are also not specifically picked out in paint at all, or if it is a different plastic, it is very, very subtly different. Just a smidgen of a lighter shade of brown. It's very nice. But yeah, that's that. Moving on to Sabine's accessories, however, we do have quite a few more of those. Of course, we do have Ezra's lightsaber that she, of course, gets at the end of Rebels, and that she uses in this show at multiple different points. Moving close to CVs, they are just picked out in a different kind of paint. I will say that the unextended hilt is much less of a vibrant silver than the extended one, which is interesting because it's still clear plastic instead of being sculpted in silver, which is interesting. I don't know why exactly, but they are exactly the same. Same ignition button there. The only difference is, of course, this one has a belt clip so that you can clip it onto Sabine's belt, right like that. And of course, being a weapon, she can, of course, also hold it. So we'll just remove that for now. The next two accessories are, of course, her blasters. And you'll notice, for those who watched my original Sabine review, these are a little bit different because Sabine's blasters in the initial release are painted as they were in the show. As you can see, this one on the single carded figure is blue. This one is just regular gray. And on the other side, it's picked out in yellow paint, of course, because Sabine is the painter. And the one that comes with the Howler Sabine is picked out in gray, which sucks. You'd think that with the extra money that they put into this thing, being $40 when it came out, you'd think that they'd be able to add, you know, a single running mark of paint down the front of each of the blasters, but I guess not. That stinks. However, the thing I will say a little bit later is that the paint on these Sabines differ just a smidge, and we'll talk about that when we get there. The final accessory Sabine comes with is this updated helmet. This is the same exact helmet from before, except this one is way smaller and it is swappable instead of removable, which I don't think it needs to be. I think that, truthfully, if you hollow this out, you can definitely get this on top of her head, and this is going to be really hard to show off. Yeah, let's do that. You can definitely get her head inside of it, but because of the many complaints, the many valid complaints from TVC fans, we were able to get another helmet that's actually well scaled. And of course, that does just pop right back on, and you have Sabine looking very mysterious there with her helmet, and it's actually well scaled this time. The rangefinder does actually move down. It's very soft plastic, so just be careful with it. But it does move down, so you can have her actually have that. The detailing on it is great. The visor is shiny paint, which it should be. It's got all the correct markings as far as I can see, and it looks pretty good. So congrats on that. And the last accessory, probably the most prominent here, is the shawl that she wears when she's on Peridia, freed by Thrawn to go about her vices and find Ezra. I think it looks great. I exclusively display her with this because I don't want to mix up this Sabine from the other one, even though this one has a better helmet. That's that for the accessories. Let's move on now to do that. We're going to have to remove her helmet and her shawl here. So first of all, this is still a spitting image of Natasha Liu. It is perfect down to the last detail, if you want to get the Homelander meme in here. But she looks just like the way she did in the show. The face scanning technology that Hasbro uses, I'll never doubt them with this. They are always on point with it. They even got a little bit of a wash going on in her hair. If you can see, there's some lighter pinks or purples in the roots of her hair. And then a darker wash over, which looks really good. That's something that original release did have, but it was just not as well done. At least in my opinion, this looks a lot more natural than that one did. The armor is still picked out perfectly in that Ahsoka show styling, though. With the sigil of the Rebellion, or now the New Republic, just above the stars, on her right shoulder. And with the Pergil on her left shoulder, they're also picked out. Down her chest armor still looks pretty good. Nothing's really changed too much down there. The belt for her gun belt is still regular brown, which I don't like, but there is still the buckles here. I just think they should have picked out more of those rivets and stuff. Again, we are painting a lot more for this figure than we did last time, and the rivets are still unpainted, and the belt is still unwashed, which sucks. But the undersuit underneath is still at least sculpted pretty nice. I missed her picking out her arms. Her arms still have those little details on each of the gauntlets, and her fingers are, of course, picked out in the same tone as her face. Just looks a little bit wonky because of the camera, but I swear to God, in person, as I'm looking at this thing with my own two eyes, it looks perfect. Going down her thighs, of course, the undersuit is still continuing its design. It's still brown, and then it gets to the shins and to the knees, and the armor pieces are picked out exactly the same as the original figure. Nothing's changed here. Even the feet armor are the same, and that is about it for her appearance. Now, articulation wise, she, of course, as you have seen already with the helmet, has a dumbbell joint at the head, so you can get the not as much. There's a little bit of sideways in there. Looks better on camera than it does in real life, honestly, but that's besides the point. The shoulder pieces are soft plastic, so you can get a great range of motion out and then forward about that far until the shoulders stop it, and then backwards about that far. You get an elbow bend, and because it's soft plastic, it goes really deep in there. Then unfortunately nothing at the wrists other than a swivel, but because of the soft plastic, you can pretend it's a down joint or an in and out joint, just because it's so soft that it allows you to do that, which is a plus, question mark. We'll see how it lasts. We'll see how the plastic holds up in a few years. She has a ball joint in her abdomen, so she can get her Wren reps in, of course. It's actually going up into her chest armor there, which is pretty nice. Very interesting to see. Nothing at the waist proper, unfortunately, though. She does have and my angle here, a pretty good range of motion at the hips with those nice ball jointed hips. So she can get air kicks out that far, that back until her butt starts getting in the way, and then that far. It feels like it should go farther, but it doesn't. It goes about that far out. Thigh swivel, of course, and the thigh swivel is very loose. Not so that much that it's going to ruin your posing, but it's just very easy to twist, which is a plus, truthfully. And then the knee goes about that far down, and the ankles have a pivot, which is pretty good, and of course an up and down joint there as well. So overall, good articulation for Sabine. But moving along to the Howler, this thing is pretty freaking big, and it is very well detailed as well. It's a massive hunk of plastic that's turned into a creature, and honestly, I'm all for this. We don't really get a lot of creatures other than like dewbacks and stuff, so to have something like the Howler here is very nice. Getting up into the details of the face and around the snout, he does have some little beady eyes painted in there, and a nice shit-eating grin with the teeth all picked out and stuff. It likes to fight me sometimes, but yes, of course it does open, and he does have a tongue and teeth all picked out a nice bone white paint, and even the top of his mouth is painted. The inside of his ears are picked out. They look like bat ears, which is very funny to me. And then the underneath the side of his belly and his coat down to his crotch region is picked out in a sort of light airbrush of a little bit of a lighter brown, which is very nice as well. He has a brown saddle, which is very brown. There is absolutely no wash on it, so it's very solid. And it's got these little bone things spread apart. You got a little canteen here for Sabine, a saddlebag, a bedroll, and then the exact same things on the other side with the stirrups.
I did forget to mention here that the saddle is removable. You can see the little button that keeps it on right on that strap that goes underneath his belly. You just pop that off and the entire thing comes off.
On the back, though, you got nothing other than the legs here, which have good articulation. And speaking of, let's get to that. So first of all, I guess this counts as articulation because the reins here are very, very movable. It's made of that same soft plastic that most of the armor pieces on Sabine are made of, which is very good. Of course, as I just mentioned, his mouth does open, so you can get a look into his gaping maw. And then he can look up about that far, down that far. And he does have a ball joint there. He can look right, he can look left, he can look up, he can look up while he can look down while looking up, so that it kind of breaks his sculpt there. But you know, you can do that if you actually want to. He has the same kind of articulation in the front legs as well, with a ball joint there, being able to allow a great range of motion for running and stanced up poses. He does also have a knee joint, but of course it is in the reverse. It bends forward instead of backwards like humans do, because that's how dogs work. And then of course go straight. There's also, of course, a swivel there, so you can go out to the side and in that way. And then the exact same thing at the wrists has an up and down joint as well as a pivot, so he can, you know, get a nice little stance there. Unfortunately, there's nothing underneath the saddle, so there's no turning joint, there's no hips at all, which stinks. But there are hips in the form of his back legs, his haunches, that can, of course, go about that far out. Great range of motion there, forward, back, and then of course the same kind of knee joint that we saw earlier, as well as forward and in and out. And then at the ankle, he can go down, he can go up very far, and of course he has a pivot there as well. Lastly, of course, we have the tail. The tail has no articulation in it, just as one ball joint. So if you want him to have his tail up, it's like that, down like that. Can't, I guess, nah, he can't tuck it. If there was a swivel here, you could have him tuck his tail in, but that's fine. The only thing with this is you can pop off his back legs. And this is where I will demonstrate the accessories. Of course, just take his left leg and put it on the left ball joint. Of course, beware. But then when you get the other one in, just like that, you're not going to hear a pop because these things are very tight, but you will feel it go in. Don't think too far about that. And then, of course, you can just move the tail to the side, move his legs down, move his head down, and then you can have him in a sitting pose like that, so that Sabine, if she wanted to come here and mount him, could come up here feasibly. Getting her feet in the stirrups is really hard. I just tend to leave them on the side like she's hugging the Howler with her thighs. And then, of course, to keep herself on, and put the reins in her hand. And before that pops out, you have Sabine at least starting to mount the Howler there. And look how smug he looks, and look how uncomfortable she is. That's just the kind of dynamic you want to see, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic articulation on this thing. I'm blown away. The only other creature I own is the Blurg, which we'll review eventually. This thing is absolutely fantastic with the articulation. So with that being said, let's move on to the size comparison to show you exactly how the Howler and Sabine stack up. Freeze frame.
That's not regulation. I kind of like it.
Freeze frame on freeze. So how we're going to do this is we're going to stand the Howler there, and we're going to stand Sabine there. We're going to show how everyone looks next to each other. So first and foremost, here is Sabine next to our previous Star Wars Vintage Collection review. The Vintage Collection Ahsoka series chopper. That looks about right to me. I still think the chop's a little bit underscaled, but next to Sabine there, that looks about right. Here is Sabine next to her previous incarnation, herself, and I will say, I think it may just be my copies, but I definitely noticed in the light here, the Howler Sabine definitely looks a lot brighter in person. Maybe that's because I store these things too close to my window. That's very feasible. But there's just a little bit of difference. Like the belt on this Sabine is a little bit brighter than the belt on this Sabine. All of the armor is the same though. Down to the feet, as I mentioned earlier. And the back, it's the exact same. Even the faces, just this one with the Howler has a lot more definition in it. The hair looks more realistic. The face is a lot less glossy and more realistic-like. Or at least maybe it's more glossy, but that kind of reflects the natural oil of a human face. So I definitely think that the Howler Sabine has it in pretty much every aspect on the original one. Here's Sabine next to the golden standard of action figures himself. Dark Times Darth Vader, who is just massive compared to both the Howler and Sabine. Here she is next to a Mandalorian of my own design. That old Sabine can just fall down there. She's not important anymore. And here she is next to my favorite skeleton, who has gotten a lot of upgrades since the last time we saw him here on the channel. And that's one hell of a shot. That's how they stack up next to each other. As you can see, Sabine is rightfully shorty in the height sense, obviously. This seems about accurate because Natasha Liu in the show, in real life at least, is 5'7". So average Mandalorian being, what, 6 foot, seems about right. Vader is like, what, 6'6". Definitely seems about correct for her to be at his chest level. And then Chop's little, but that's enough waffling about scale. Let's move on to my final thoughts so I can tell you exactly what I think about this set. Freeze frame. Freeze frame. So I'm of the mind that this thing is absolutely a phenomenal set. $40, you get an absolutely crazy detailed Star Wars creature, which is something we don't normally get, but we also get an upgraded version of a figure that's already been out 2 to 3 years. This set is testament that Hasbro can indeed make a figure, then upgrade it in a subsequent release to give the fans what they want, just at the cost of some paint on some blasters, which is unfortunate. When you factor in the cost of that figure now, which, I mean, truthfully, a regular vintage collection figure is $20 now. With this thing, which is out of stock and hard to find, was $40 when it came out, now maybe $50 or even $60 to get on the aftermarket. You're looking at $80 to get the best Sabine Wren figure. The Howler is a nice addition. I'm not going to lie, this thing's awesome and I love it. But is it worth all that money? And is it worth the price of admission just to get the upgraded figure? I truthfully don't know. I think it is, for what it is, overpriced. You know, the price of admission is very steep, but you do get a very cool piece. So I'm not going to say that the price is necessarily a knock against it. The only real complaint I have about the sculpt is that the hind legs, the haunches, are just a smidge hard to pop off their ball joints. They are the normal ball joints with the weird geometry with the dots to keep them tight with a loose ball joint. For Sabine, of course, it would have been nice to have some actual wrists. It's weird that in the Big 26, or I guess the Big 24 when this figure came out, we're still getting wrists with no articulation, which sucks, but whatever. But if you like Sabine Wren or the Howler, you like the Ahsoka series, you like Star Wars Rebels, you like Star Wars in general, make sure you share this video with your friends. Share your face circuits, all that good stuff. If you like the content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. It keeps helping the channel grow. It keeps helping me pump out this content. That's going to be pretty much it for this time, my friends. Thank you all so very much for watching. And as always, peace. I don't wanna be an old man.